Okay, sup gamers. Sorry for the lack of uploads. I've been busy as hell and stressed out of my mind. But stress is for a little bit, so let's get on with this. Alrighty, I'm gonna run over some of the smaller things I've done first before moving on to the real good stuff. So first of all, Steam page is up. To go wish list the game, the link is in the description. The capsule art for the game along with a lot of the other in-game art is done by Weaver on Twitter, link in the description as always. And secondly, the game now is a shopkeeper, so let's go over what it does. So as a shopkeeper, he'll sell you items. No shit. But he will always sell you one item of each rarity, so that increases the chances that there's something useful for you. Now, a special little thing about the shopkeeper is that he has a lot of dialogue for a lot of different situations. So let's say you leave the shop, but you don't buy anything, he might insult you. Or on the other hand, if you buy everything, he may suddenly become really nice to you, or he'll insult your mother. Basically, for every situation that I could think of, like not having enough money, buying everything, buying nothing, hurting him, blah blah, there's dialogue for that. So yeah, it's pretty dynamic. And of course the shopkeeper will fight back if you fight him, because it's an indie roguelike. But more on that next time. As of now, let's get to the good shit. Okay, so progression is a pretty important part of a lot of games, and a lot of times it's in the form of meta progression. So what does that mean? Well, meta progression is basically where you gain something permanent that changes how you play the game, aka the meta. So for example, if you craft a weapon in a game like Terraria, there is meta progression. Now, meta progression is like really great, right? It gives you a sense of, well, progression. But when we come to roguelites, we can't really make use of meta progression too much, because it kind of violates the principle of permadeath. For those who don't know, permadeath just means when you die, you lose everything and you have to restart. And meta progression kinda counteracts that. Now obviously there are some great games with permanent progression, such as Dead Cells or Hades, but that's not what I'm focusing on today. Right now my problem is that beating a boss feels kinda inconsequential. So like, you get a ton of money, which is great, and you get the boss's item, which is great. But it still feels kinda anticlimactic after you beat this entire boss fight, and all you get is potentially the boss's item. So how do we solve this? Well, my solution that I came up with is boss traits. Boss traits are essentially special perks that you unlock after defeating bosses. Okay, so boss traits are upgrades you get after defeating bosses. So how is it different from boss items? Well, unlike boss items, these traits are guaranteed. Every single time you beat a boss, you can expect the same 3 trait choices to always be available. This means that you will always have something to anchor your build on. On top of that, you can only get one boss trait from each boss every run. So if you defeat them over and over again, you can still get their loot, but you won't be able to get another trait. This kinda just makes it feel like a bigger deal and more of an important decision. Now when I was designing these boss traits, I wanted to make it feel like you were learning something from the boss they defeated. This means that all the traits are really unique and incorporate some elements of their boss's theme or their fight into your own kit. Okay looks, let's go over some traits. Solemn Vow can either be really potent or really weak depending on your situation. This trait basically allows you to summon the Guardian Construct to fight for you every time you get 10 kills. All this just means that as long as you're already doing fine, this trait will push momentum forward even more. On top of that, the Guardian Construct's first priority is to hurt anything that hurt you, so it's really good for protection. Now do remember that the Guardian Construct does move really slowly, so if you want to take advantage of it, you should bait enemies into its effective range. Eternal Servitude lets you harness the very same soul constructs that the Guardian Construct summons in his boss fight. Now these soul constructs do behave slightly differently from the regular ones that you'll find in the world. So for one, they travel for shorter amounts of time but at a higher speed. This allows them to be more efficient. On top of that, they also attack significantly more often. But the real kicker here is that they inherit all of your on-hit effects. This means that if you have a ton of on-hit items but don't have any way to really proc them, this trait will basically just solve all your problems. Omnipresence is an unorthodox movement-based trait that gives you a teleport. Now, while fighting the Guardian Construct, you will realize that it has the ability to teleport. However, it travels extremely slowly normally. This trait essentially imitates that. Now, the teleport isn't just done by just pressing a button and teleporting. Instead, it uses your current dash key. So whenever you hold down dash, it doesn't really matter if you actually dash or not, but if you hold on dash for long enough, you'll place down a waypoint, and when you release dash, you'll teleport. This means that once you've placed down a waypoint, you can no longer dash until you teleport. Now all this combined basically just makes it kind of a difficult trait to get a hang of, but once you do, the potential is extremely high. Moving on to Netflix traits. Electrifying Presence is a pretty simple trait. It surrounds you with a small electrical field that will constantly damage everything within its area of effect. Every single hit vacuums enemies slightly towards you, as well as having a small chance to inflict fear or proc your own hit effects. So if you're going full melee, this trait will do you real good. Shocking Entrance is a movement trait, and gives you a charge that's akin to Noctlic's very own. Now every few seconds you'll start seeing particles coming from a character. This basically just means that the charge is ready. Now if you press dash, instead of a regular dash, you will get one that travels extremely far, deals contact damage, and shoots projectiles. This is obviously a really powerful movement option, allowing you to cover huge distances while being invincible and doing damage. Just make sure not to use it at the wrong time, as the longer duration of the dash can come back to bite you in the ass if you decide to charge into something like a wall. Blitzkrieg in German literally means lightning wall or flash wall, and that perfectly encapsulates this trait. Now if you learn Blitzkrieg from Noctlic, you will gain the ability to charge up electricity when moving around. Once you've moved around enough, you'll start to see electricity coming from your character. This means that Blitzkrieg is active. While Blitzkrieg is active, your next melee hit will cause chain lightning to appear, bouncing up to 10 times and dealing true damage. If you're fighting a group of enemies or a boss that summons adds, this trait could be a lifesaver. The one downside is that you might just end up aggroing everything, which might not be great for you. So if you're planning on picking up this trait, you need to be confident that you can take everything on. That's all the traits for now, but there's actually a pattern in how I designed these traits. Every boss has one trait that is simple to use with simple applications. In the case of Eternal Servitude and Electrifying Presence, you don't actually have to do anything at all, and they're bound to provide some sort of good value. Then there are the traits that are still relatively simple, but a bit more powerful and a bit more nuanced. Solemn Vow and Blitzkrieg are both extremely potent, but using them at the wrong times can lead to either a wasted activation, or it might actually put you in a bad spot. Then there are the traits that are hard to pick up, but provide extremely high value once you've mastered them. Shocking Entrance allows you to move very far, but it locks you into a very linear travel path. This means that you have to be smart with when to use the charge. Sometimes you even want to waste the charge intentionally so you can have a normal dash. Omnipresence lets you travel instantly, but it completely stops you from doing anything that's bound to your dash key, so again you have to be really smart with it. Now all of this basically just boils down to player expression. I want players to have plenty of options to choose from, then those options should support a variety of playstyles. This way there's something for everybody, and the hardcore players will always have room to improve and innovate. Okay, that was a pretty long devlog, and that's for a pretty good reason. I'm not gonna be uploading devlogs anymore. For this month. That's because I'll be presenting a Taipei game show. I'll still be active on Twitter, so feel free to find me there, and also do join my Discord. The community is pretty small right now, but everybody there is super pleasant to chat with. With all that said, that's it for this devlog. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next month.